my impression is that that was so low-key the way this whole thing kind of started. You had expected with the buildup that it was going to be a little bit more pomp and circumstance, and it just seems like it got off to a very almost abrupt, very low-key start.
I think that was on purpose, actually. I don't think that was by accident. I think this was planned to be a huge celebration, and with all the issues and all the concerns, everything has been scaled back, including this opening ceremony, and they're keeping it very low-key. They're going to make it quick. It was supposed to last almost an hour. It's down to 20 minutes, perhaps 10. So everything is changing, and they're trying to just keep it under control as much as they possibly can on this side anyway.
Yeah. And when you say quick, we understand as well that the torch run, the route itself, has been scaled down itself.
That's right. It was originally supposed to be 10 to 15 miles, scaled down to 6 miles as of this week, and then just today. Okay, now we have the head of the Beijing organizing committee coming up.
There he is presenting the Olympic flame.
Lighting the torch right now. And those men in blue, they are apparently paramilitary, as one of the news wires is telling us, from China, guarding the flame, guarding these torches along this 85,000-mile journey.
Yeah. 30 of them will be accompanying the flame throughout the United States. Another 40 are designated to be with the torch when it goes back to China throughout its international route. This has been highly anticipated by everyone for today on both sides of this Olympic torch rally.
And Norman Bellingham right now holding up the torch, passing it on to perhaps the first runner there.
So much controversy over what is such a small, really, item, less than 30 inches, less than 30 pounds. So much anticipation and so much controversy.
And she is one of 79 torch runners who will bring this torch through San Francisco. The route, we understand, should be along the Embarcadero, coming back to Justin Herman Plaza. But as Diane just mentioned, this is a very fluid situation. A lot of changes happening because of the security, because of all the protests that are going on.
Now, the torch is supposed to be a symbol of unity. In China, when it first started off on its journey, it was dubbed the Journey of Harmony. That's how the Chinese government dubbed the torch run. Obviously, it has been less than that throughout London and Paris, and now it still remains to be seen what kind of a journey it will be here.
And the journey is beginning, as you can see by our live shot there in San Francisco. The first torch runner leaving McCovey Cove, flanked, of course, by Chinese security, and soon to be flanked by San Francisco police and also state police, Fed police, a lot of security around this route.
And so the Olympic torch rally has finally begun. Runners expected to go each about a block and a half at this point to complete that 3-mile journey.
And perhaps 2 by 2, not just single runners now.
Yeah, maybe perhaps this was the first one. Originally, the route was supposed to extend from McCovey Cove, down the Embarcadero, past the Ferry Plaza, down to Fisherman's Wharf, where it would then loop around Aquatic Park and then turn around along Beach Street in that area of San Francisco that is flanked by the marina and by North Beach. But that has changed significantly. The route now cut in half, so it will only be up and down the Embarcadero.
And apparently that is, or was, we can't see her right now, Lindley, she's a swimmer. One of the torchbearers, one of the 79 torchbearers who will run this torch throughout San Francisco. A 3-mile route as opposed to the 6-mile route that was originally planned.
The only U.S. stop, the only North American stop, part of an 85,000-mile journey that will span 20 countries and 5 continents.
Of course, that torch perhaps will run along the Embarcadero with its runners, and we have NBC 11's Garvin Thomas in the middle of all those protesters along the Embarcadero. Garvin, what do you have there?
Well, Lisa, things have thinned out a bit along this stretch. A big chunk of the protesters headed back in the direction of the Ferry Building, disappeared around the corner from where we are. The way we're looking down towards AT&T Park. For those familiar with the Embarcadero, we're in the parking lot right next to Red's Java House. We don't see the beginnings of the torch relay, but now you're looking at what the portion of the route looks like. There are a number of pro-Chinese people right in front of us, a couple hundred now. Now you see a big chunk of people still milling around the middle of the street. I was saying before, there was not there was not much of a police presence in the area. Just about 3 minutes ago, a half-dozen motorcycle police officers rode up. I don't think we can see them right now. They're blocked by some of the protesters, but no effort is being made at this point to get the folks out of the middle of the road. And as you can see, as we continue to pan looking down the Embarcadero, there are barricades up, but they're really not doing much to stop anybody from walking down the middle of the street. And just one last point, we can show you that bus we talked about earlier, the confrontation where the protesters had stopped the tour bus. That tour bus is still sitting there. Back to you guys.
All right. Thanks a lot, Garvin. Let's switch over to NBC 11's Diane Dwyer at McCovey Cove once again. Diane, what do you know?
Okay, so here's what we've got going on. The torchbearer, it was very interesting. She left, the swimmer, she went around the cove and she went into this building that we're looking at here. They went inside there sort of to a safe house, and then they came back out. There were a bunch of motorcycles, and I believe that the torch runner came out of the building the other side, so they are already off course from what the original plan was and are headed sort of through the parking lot almost on the south side of AT&T Park. That's what we can see from here, but it was a very interesting route. It looked like she might be headed for the boat, then she headed inside the building, and then it looks like a lot of people are trying to figure out where she went from there. But that's what's happening right here at McCovey Cove.
Have there been any Gavin Newsom sightings at all? Have you seen the mayor at all at today's ceremony? Was he there?
We have not. We have not seen the mayor. He was not here. We understand he will be at closing ceremonies. Here we go. We understand that he will be at the closing ceremony. But right now, all eyes are sort of out on the street trying to figure out what happened to the torch and where it went next. There was a large motorcade that came out of that building where the torch went in, but we didn't see the runner actually come out at that point as well. Gavin Newsom has not been here. Peter Ubroth was supposed to be here this morning. It turned out he also did not come. This is very scaled back from the original plan.
When that run began, did some of the protesters start moving as well, Diane?
You know, we're in such a secure location here, there are no protesters here. So no, they were careful to go around the area where it was completely secure with water on one side and then press basically on the other side and then straight in to the warehouse pier building. And from there, we're waiting to see when they come back out or if they have with that original motorcade that came out at that point.
Now, remember earlier you were saying that you could see some of the other torchbearers behind you. Are they no longer there?
They are no longer there. They have left. There were maybe 5 or 6 here. One left with the torch, and the others were escorted out just a few minutes before that, and we're unclear where they are at this point.
Now we know, and you mentioned earlier that one torchbearer did drop out yesterday. Did you hear anything else today? Did anybody else drop out of this torch run?
I have not heard of anyone dropping out, but as we mentioned, it did go from 6 miles down to 3, so they will be, most of the torchbearers will be sharing the torch with another runner at this point. That's a way to scale it back as well, and obviously try to keep it into as secure an area as possible.
Very interesting. Gavin Newsom said this morning that these 3 miles would be in stark contrast to what we saw in Paris and London, and already that is visible just because right now we've lost track of where this runner, the first torchbearer, is, and the route is still unclear. Now we are seeing, trying to figure out exactly what we're looking at on the ground. This is along the Embarcadero in front of the ferry plaza.
Go ahead, Diane.
And we are getting information now that 2 additional people dropped out. So now a total of 3 people have dropped out. That leaves us down to 77 runners at this point. And again, they're going to be going 2 by 2 if they ever come out of the building or we can find them. Yes, it loses the splendor of it along the way, but they're obviously trying